I've talked with you about this before. We're talking with Kwame Alexander. There's a new book, literally called The New Book by Nikki Giovanni. It was her last book. Kwame's title is The Last Book, but it's the new book, Poems, Letters, Blurbs, and Things. Nikki Giovanni's poetry. This is how many of us know her in that Square Biz song. Um,
Mhm.
now that you have a different relationship with her, what's the biggest lesson that you learned from Nikki Giovanni?
We're ready. We're prepared. Do not give in to fear. We are fearless. This is not the time to be afraid. This is a time to stand up and fight back and to resist any temptation for them to divide us. We're in this together. The rule of law is on our side. We will not give in, not give up. We will not capitulate. We will not bow. We will not bend. We will survive.
The new book is literally called The New Book. I thought it was a description. So I was like, oh yeah, he's got a new book. It's called Poems, Letters, and wait, Poems, Letters, Blurbs, and Things. Oh, the title is The New Book.
Look,
You
you as confused as I was.
yo, what?
So look, I found out about this book maybe in the fall. Nikki told me she was writing it. I didn't know the title, but when I got to the hospital room on Friday, December the 6th, Jenny told me that, or maybe it was Renee Watson. She said, Kwame, Nikki's new book, it's called The Last Book. And I was like, that's just like Nikki. That's just like her. Now, at that point, it's Friday. She's in the hospital. We're there. We're thinking there's a chance she's going to pull through this. We ain't thinking the worst. So she would call her book The Last Book. And so all weekend, I'm saying Nikki has a new book coming out. It's called The Last Book. It's called The Last Book. It's called The Last Book. It was days after when I was working on the obituary that Renee said, Kwame, I made a mistake. It's called The New Book. And I'm like, no, no. In my head, and this is after
It's
she passed, in my head, it's the
wow.
last book. That's what it's
Right.
called definitely now. And but it was called The New Book. But when you think about it, it makes even so much more sense that it would be called The New Book. On a personal level, I got this new relationship with Nikki now that is taking on a whole new kind of meaning and significance. Um, because I can't call her because
Right.
because I can't sit down and have those 6 hour dinners.
Right.
And I
Right.
think the world is now going to have a whole new type of relationship with her. So this new book, this title, the new book, yeah, it's cool. I mean, I dig it. It works. It works. But in my mind, it's the last book.
I'd interviewed her, I think a couple of months before she made transition. And so I was shocked. There was a documentary that was out as well. I just watched that, I recommended it. Was she, now I know she had battled cancer. Like, what did you know? Because, like you said, she might have pulled through. On the 6th, 3 days later, did you know that, like what was her
Well,
mood
I
and
say that she could I thought she might have pulled through my perspective just because I had talked to her on Tuesday.
right, right,
And I said, I'm coming to see you on Thursday or Friday because I knew that she was, Wednesdays were chemo treatment. And Thursday, she don't feel that good. So Friday's probably the best time to go see her.
right.
Um, so in my mind, I just talked to you on Tuesday. I'm in the hospital on Friday. There's a chance it's gonna get better. To answer your question, Nikki has survived breast cancer and lung cancer.
That's right.
When I met her in '87, it was, years later she would, battle lung cancer. And so maybe a year ago, a year and a half ago, she began to cough a lot, and there was like you know, what's going on? What's going on? Oh, it's just pneumonia. The doctor says it's pneumonia. And it turns out it became more than that. And so to answer your question, yeah, I saw the evolution or the devolution, however you want to look at it. But of course, like with people you love and the people who love you, you see
You
it,
ain't trying to,
you
yeah,
ain't trying
you're
to,
not trying to embrace that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Especially, and it happens so quick. In your mind, you think,
Right.
oh man, this just happened so quick. This ain't possible. And it is, it's real.
For her, because in we're all of us. I was actually thinking about this today. Yesterday I was talking about Xi Jinping and Putin trying to figure out how to live forever, and this quest for the fountain of youth and to live everlasting life, it spurs us into religious, practices and all this, with this desire to be here forever. And I was saying to myself, a lot of us ain't doing nothing with the little bit of time we have.
Mm,
If you know there's an expiration date to your time here, why aren't you doing more with the time that you have? Like, everlasting life is not for all of us. All of us will not. Most I'm only saying most. I think all of us will not be here physically
right.
at some point, right? So if that's the reality, the time that you have here to me is so valuable that we waste so much. So I'm wondering, like, Nikki Giovanni rang the rag out of life. She lived
No,
50,000 million different lives. She's impacted so many people, done so many. Just that, if you just take the conversation with James Baldwin, she could have just dropped the mic on
right,
that and
right.
never done another thing. Okay.
Look, you called it when you talked about this idea of, look, when one of the things that I recognized, and this is another reason why I wasn't necessarily believing that she was as getting worse. Nikki was still traveling 3 weeks before she passed away. She was still gigging. She had a gig in New York City like in October, and she had a gig at NJ Pack in October. She was still gigging. And so, I remember me telling her, you got to slow down. And this is me telling her, me who has been on the road since first grade, and my
Mm.
daughter's now a senior in high school. I've been on the road. And so, me telling her, you got to slow down. And eventually, maybe 2 years ago, Nikki slowed down. And here's how I know. Apple called and asked me to be the Black History Month speaker. And they said, can you bring Nikki Giovanni with you? And it was some exorbitant amount of money. It was like college tuition money. You know what I'm talking about, Karen. And so I was like, okay, I think I'll be a Black History Month speaker. So I called Nikki. And anytime I called Nikki to do something or she called me, the answer was always yes. Nikki, let's go to Northern California. Let's do this gig. We're gonna get paid this. She says no. I said, what do you mean no? Like she doesn't say no to me. And so I was like, what do you mean? She's like, I took your advice, Kwame. I'm not traveling across the Mississippi. I'm not going beyond the Mississippi. That's it. I was like, okay, I see you. So I couldn't be too mad at her. I couldn't be mad at all. She was taking my advice. You mentioned the documentary. So the documentary, We're Going to Mars, that Michelle and Joe
That's right.
produced, that comes out. This is maybe 6 months, 8 months later, a year later. She calls me on a Thursday. She says, Kwame, I want you to come to the screening of the documentary. I'm like, cool, yeah, all right. Where should I meet you? Because we would always meet in different cities and have dinner and do our thing. And I'm in DC. And she says, oh, it's tomorrow night, and I'm in London. I said, what you mean you're in London? She says, yeah, I'm in London. I'm like, Heathrow, London? Gatwick, London? She's like, yeah, I'm in London. So I say, all right. And so I fly to London. We see the documentary. We go to my favorite restaurant. It's called Sheesh. And the whole time I'm thinking, oh, we just passed up college tuition. Like because you ain't want to go across the Mississippi, but you can go across the
Well,
Atlantic.
here we are.
We in,
Right.
we in London. So my point is, Nikki squeezed all the juice out of this life. And I posit that the reason she stayed on the road until 81, until 3 weeks before she passed away, was because that gave her life. That gave her life. And had she come off the road, I'm not sure she would have been as happy as she was.
Mm, mm. She lived unapologetically. I think about her choices and how she lived in the wake of societal norms and opinions and all of this, and was ever a teacher. The I've talked with you about this before. We're talking with Kwame Alexander. There's a new book, literally called The New Book by Nikki Giovanni. It was her last book. Kwame's title is The Last Book, but it's the new book, poems, letters, blurbs, and things. Nikki Giovanni's poetry. This is how many of us know her in that Square Biz song. Um, now that you have a different relationship with her, what's the biggest lesson that you learned from Nikki Giovanni?
Well, I'll share a real sort of a superficial thing, and then I'll give you something with substance. So the first superficial thing is, as I'm writing her obituary, I am uh, I'm at her dining room table, and it's a bunch of people because it's after the passing and before the funeral, and people are coming over and bringing stuff, and people are talking. So it's distracting. And so I asked Jenny, I said, Jenny, do you mind if I go sit in Nikki's office to finish writing the obituary? And everybody's just like, there's just complete silence because I've just sort of crossed this boundary. The woman just passed. And now I'm asking to go sit in her private office where she wrote her books. And I just know I'm about to get kicked out this house. I don't worn out my welcome. And Jenny sort of, it feels like 3 hours. And it's a few seconds. And she says, sure. So I'm sitting in Nikki's office and it, it is not lost on me that I am writing an obituary about the woman who taught me how to write in the office, in the chair where she wrote. And so I'm crying, I'm writing, I'm remembering, and I'm looking. Now, her office is a museum. Her house is a museum, but her office is a museum. And so at one point, I look on the desk and there are these two iPod shuffles. You know what an iPod shuffle is, Karen?
Of course, I still have mine.
She has a gray one and a lavender one. And I'm like, whoa. Now, I knew Nikki was a big jazz person. I knew she was a big music person. And so I figured out how to charge these iPod shuffles from the 1990s. And then I began listening to them. And two things I discover. One is that in 37 years of friendship, I never knew that she liked bossa nova music as much as I did. And the way I know she likes bossa nova music as much, if not more than I do, because she's got a bossa nova song on there that totally rocks my world that I had never heard of by an artist that I knew. The other thing is she's got a lot of sexy songs. People Bryson is deep up on this iPod shuffle. And so and so I just feel like I'm still getting to know her. I'm still and I'm going to get to know her in a different way on a different level through the music. That's the first thing. The sort of the next thing or the biggest thing that I'm still learning from her, and I think this is evident, this comes through in this poem. The poem is called Some Complain, and it's from the new book by Nikki Giovanni. Some complain when the wind blows strong, when the snow falls light, when the cloud grays up, but we never know how important changes are to giving the soil the strength to produce new plants. Some of us should know the sun will warm, the earth and blossoms will come, Karen. How fortunate are we to be a part of that weather, to be a part of that weather. is that we
Mm.
all like we can get distracted. What did Toni Morrison say? The purpose of racism is to distract us. We can get distracted by all the chaos, but we got to remember the community. We can get distracted by all the woe, but we got to remember the wonder. We can get distracted by the tragedy. And Lord knows we're in the midst of a lot of it, but we have to work towards triumph. I feel like that's the thing. Like she never got too down. She never thought things were over. And and I could always appreciate that optimism and hope. And that on a personal level, I told you how Nikki would and I would talk about people we ain't like. And she would say some things. There was a time where I was one of those people she would say things about. And when she
How you know?
drops,
How you know? How you
hey,
know? She
look,
told you? She
oh,
told you?
to my face,
Yes, I love it.
and and I got a letter from 1988 that she wrote to me after we had our first confrontation in her office. It's like a two-page type letter. I still remember the first line. You are trapped in an image of who you think you ought to be. I mean, oh yeah, oh yeah. She came for me. And so how we went from there to how we
Oh
got
my
to where we ended,
God. I love it.
that's a
I
beautiful
love
letter.
it. When I first saw you, I said, how's your daughter? And you
Yeah.
told me, you said, you're now a granddad, not with the high schooler, not with the high schooler,
Come
no.
on. No, not with a high
No,
school.
okay. I'm just
Don't
like,
give me
come
a
on
heart
now. I
attack.
just want to clear it out. I just want to clear it up.
The high schooler is a senior in high school, and
Yes.
and her first day was yesterday, and the night before we decorated the car, writing senior on it and all that stuff.
Oh, wow.
But my firstborn, my 34-year-old, she gave
Jesus.
birth to her first son, and he was premature, Karen. He was like 3.5 months early,
Mm.
and that was July 11th of 2024, and I could fit him in my hand. And this kid is like big and strong and laughing and saying mama. And he's a year and a month now. And of course, I I I love him. His name is Langston. How apropos.
Yes.
And I think I'm gonna be a better grandparent than I was a parent. I mean, and the biggest thing is he can do no wrong. I mean, our kids can do no wrong either, but it's something different about being a grandparent.
And you said he's made you a better person?
Yeah,
He's
for
a year
sure.
in 1 year? What changed?
Yeah. I mean, from the second he was born, like I told myself, Kwame, you got to get it together. You need to get your life in order. Like you got to be even, you thought you were focused before, you got to be even more focused now. It's an interesting spiritual sort of journey that you are on when you have a grandchild that sort of says, "Oh, yeah, this is bigger than me and the people right here."
You're an elder.
You're an
You're not.
elder. You're like, and I remember my relationship with my grandmothers and with my grandfathers and how they have informed me and how they have helped form and shape me and how I miss them so much and how there were so many questions I wish I could have asked them or I wish I had asked them. And I want to make sure that I impart as much wisdom, as much insight and guidance to little Langston as possible.
Okay. You know, you have a home here, Kwame. 44 books and counting. Come back with the next one. This new book. Thank you for honoring the legacy of Nikki Giovanni. The new book, poems, letters, blurbs, and things. Matter of fact, I'm going to buy a copy for the eighth caller, 866-801-8255. I'm going to buy a copy of the new book for you. Kwame, I love you. I
Love
thank you for
you. I
being here.
appreciate you.
We're ready. We're prepared. Do not give in to fear. We are fearless. This is not the time to be afraid. This is a time to stand up and fight back. and to resist any temptation for them to divide us. We're in this together. The rule of law is on our side. We will not give in, not give up. We will not capitulate. We will not bow. We will not bend. We